So we are configuring one UI FPM application for the custom object, a custom data model that we created in last few sessions. So as part of that, configuring a brand new FPM application. So these are the steps that actually involved. So in that, we copied that standard OVP template into Z. Then we also attached the header level parameters to the BOT. Okay, and then we added one form UIBB and one list UIBB. Okay, so the next one is adding wiring schema. Okay, so what is this particular wiring schema? So as in when you add more than one UIBB in under one OVP application, we need to define the relation between those UIBBs, because these UIBBs are not independent UIBBs, right? So each one has dependency with the other one. Okay, just like under one SU type 1, you can have multiple type 4s, but there we should define the relation between among the type 4s or with the type 1. Okay, the same concept applies here as well. Okay, so for that one, that intact will be maintained using this particular wiring schema. Okay, so now let's look at what is this wiring schema and what are the configuration that we need to maintain. Okay, so to get into this UI application configurations, so I'll just start from that path. Okay, from MDG IMG, then central governance, general settings, UI modeling. Under this UI modeling, we have something called manage UI configurations. So this is the place where all your MDG specific FPM applications are added over here. Okay, so in this one, as a step one, this we took as a template. Okay, so this is the one which we took as a template and we added it. Okay, so now the thing is that here, what I see is we linked our data model OTC here, but the data model should get added over here, but I don't see the data model ZP. So what I'm saying is, this is the ZP application that we configured yesterday. So when we link our OTC, so the data model should automatically pick up over here. That is not coming up. Let me see. We added this data model. Okay, so let me add it again. ZP_BOT. Save. This is saved. So ideally it should reflect here the data model. Okay, this is not good. So the data model, because once you assign the OTC, automatically the data model should display over here. This is not coming.
Are we assigning the data model or are we assigning the
OTC?
object?
No. When I assign the OTC, automatically system will take the corresponding data model and the data model will be displayed over here.
We have created some other one. Can you please check that one, how it is updated? For ZA or ZB, something ZA.
ZA is there, right? So someone added this ZA. So it is reflecting correctly here. Okay. So you added
OTC only added.
So yeah, so that's what the same way it should display
based on your ZP filter based on
no,
data model.
There is no ZP here.
Maybe can we try activating the data model again so that it
maybe the difference yeah, I guess
data model it's already active.
It's not active. It's some saved changes is there.
Oh, is it?
Correct.
Okay. It shows different. Okay, I think when we added that business object type, after that I didn't activate it. So that could be the reason. Let me activate it again. Yep, thanks. I think good observation. So now this is same. Let me see. Where is it? Save, send this OTC. Yeah, we'll see that one. But anyway, we assign that OTC, right? So that should be fine. But ideally, you see, for I think that time it didn't reflect over here because the data model is not in active state. But in your case, I see someone created UI applications and the data model is reflecting over here. So ideally, at the header application configuration level, whenever you assign the OTC, so automatically the data model should come over here. Okay. So, but we'll see in the end once let's proceed with our other configurations. Okay. So now I'll go to component configuration. So under this component configuration, so we added both the UIBBs. And if at all you wanted to see for your form UIBB, okay, you can go to configure UIBB button. At any point of time, you wanted to see what is the feeder class associated. You can see that if you click on this this attribute section, so you will find under the general, so you will find your feeder class and the parameters. feeder class is, this is the one standard feeder class we assigned, and the parameters, right, that ZSP, ZP, and your entity name that we assigned over here, so that you can check it up at the UIBB level. What is the feeder class linked to this particular UIBB? Okay, so now I'll go back. Okay, now the next thing is we need to add the wiring schema. Okay, so for the wiring schema, you can always find that tab over here. Okay, so this wiring schema tab. Okay, so go to this wiring schema. Okay, so now here for every UIBB, you need to make one entry. We have two UIBBs. One is a form UIBB and for list UIBB. So you need to make the entries over here. So click on edit. Okay, and add wire. Okay, so here you need to fill the details. Okay, so when your component is nothing but your form UIBB, okay, for which you are adding this entry, right? So when you do F4, automatically it shows that two UIBB is form and list. So currently we will let's maintain for the form UIBB. So that's where select your form UIBB. So automatically the component name and the configuration name will get added over here automatically. Okay. Now after this, it is where is the document? Oops. Yeah. Okay. So for wiring also, you need to maintain these two information. Okay. For type 1, nothing but your for form UIBB, always here you will have something called, okay, there are few more parameters we need to maintain, but those are in hidden mode actually. Just like for form UIBB, how you are maintaining the feeder class, for wiring, there will be one class called connector class. Okay, so you can remember that it's a standard connector class that SAP provides for your form and list UIBBs. You need to remember and maintain those class names over here. Okay, so the class name by default, when you go to this UI, it will be by default in hidden mode, that column. So you can always click on this personalization button. Okay, so here you can see the connector class. So just select all these and add. Okay, so that it will come in the displayed columns. Save. Okay, so now here you need to maintain connector class. Okay, so this is your for your form UIBB, and what is the connector class for the form UIBB? So this is the one, CLFPM connector underscore bowl identity. Okay, so this is the class name. Even for your standard material master or business partner or any objects, when you are adding a new UIBBs, so you for form and list, you need to remember these connector class names only. We don't create any ZR our own connector classes. So we will always use the standard connector classes. Okay, so you can remember this. Now I will share this notepad so that you will have this information handy. Okay, and there is something called port type, which is a lead selection. Okay, so here there will be something called port type. This is a lead selection. Okay, so I think that this much of information is required for your form or type 1 UIBB. Form, the name of your component name, your configuration name, connector class, port type is lead selection. That's it. Okay, so this is for your type 1. Now save the changes. Now similar kind of thing we need to maintain for your list UI for your type for UIBB. For that one, just click on add wire. Okay, so now here the leftover UIBB it will show because we already added a form. So the other UIBB it shows here. Okay, and you also have the connector class. So for list UIBB, so the name of this particular connector class is this one, CLMDG BS connector underscore bowl underscore REL. So just take this class name, maintain this. Okay, and after that you have the port type is lead. Here as well, I think port type is lead selection only. Okay, fine. So port type is lead selection. So for both type 1 and type 4, it is always lead selection. Now there is another column here, source component and source configuration name. Okay, so this is here you need to mention the parent UIBB name over here. The parent means, so for your type 4, right? For your plant or type 4 or list UIBB, the parent is your material. Okay, so you need to mention the parent config ID and configuration name. So that is when you do an F, it shows the parent automatically here. So you need to just choose this one. Okay, so you need to choose this one. For your form UIBB or for type 1, there is no parent. Thus, that itself is a root. Okay, but for type first, you need to specify the source config component name, config ID. Okay, after that, there is one more mandatory column, port identifier. When you do F4, it automatically shows your parent related one. Okay, so just select that. Okay, so again, I'm repeating, when you are adding type 1 or form UIBB, so then only information is you need to provide your config component ID and configuration name, connector class, and port type as lead selection. But when you are adding your type 4, so along with the same details, additionally you need to provide your source component name and config name. Okay, so with this one, what happens? Why I'm specifying my source over here? Okay, so what happens is if you look at the flow, right? Let me show you here. Your form UIBB, your OVP application will be look like something like this. These are your material field. Of course, you will in the top you will have your CR UIBB. Okay. After that, this is your form UIBB where you will have the material number and material type. Okay, and material group. Okay, and industry sector. So these are the columns that we added. Okay. Now when this is represents your SU type 1. But when it comes to your SU type 4, okay, so the table, in the table, the columns will be like your material and plant and other columns like ABC indicator, country. Okay, so it will be like this. So what happens now? I enter my material number as 100. Okay, and after that, when if at all I wanted to extend this material to different plants, right? So what happens here? When you click on add button, automatically here 100 will be there. And plant you need to choose your plant one. Again, when you add one more row, here 100 will be there. You need to choose another plant. Of course, these values will be also you need to maintain. Okay, so now how come these values are coming in my list UIBB? These values, I haven't written any logic to read this data and display on this one. So it automatically comes. Why? Because I specified for my list UIBB in the wiring configuration, I specified my source config ID and config name. That is nothing but this one. So that when you are extending your child this one, so automatically the keys from your parent automatically it will come and show. Okay, so that's why this is important. If you don't maintain the source component and the source config ID, so this list UIBB will be always in read-only mode only. It will be always in read-only mode. You will see this on the UI, but you cannot maintain the data. Okay, so that is the importance of this source component and config ID. So now with this one, we are done with the wiring. Okay, so let me save till here. Okay, so now we are done with the other steps as well. So now only one last step is pending. That is nothing but communicator settings. Communicator settings, the sixth step. Okay. So now let me show you how to maintain that communicator settings. I just saved this. Now let me close, refresh. Okay. So now this is your OVP application. Okay. Now to maintain that communicator settings, that will be always, you can see here communicator settings. So that it will be always here. Okay, so just click on this. For that, I'll open this in again. So here we need to just click on this communicator status settings. Okay, it asks for the to create this configuration now. Home settings, some description. Okay, so local object. Of course, in your project, you need to save in a project specific package. Okay, so here you need to maintain some settings that we call it as a CR wire. When you click on this new, okay, select this one settings and click on new. So you get here there will be one drop down called CR wires. What is this CR wire? CR means it's a change request wire. Okay, so that means what happens is on this UI application, where is our application? Yeah, on this application. Okay, so we maintained the wiring schema for these two. This change request UIBB also at runtime it will come and add. But for that one also to get displayed that CR UIBB at runtime when you are doing some changes. Okay, so to come and add this one automatically or dynamically at runtime, you need to maintain something called CR wire, change request wire. Okay, so this change request wire you need to specify. So that is what we are specifying over here. So where select this settings section, click on new CRY. So when you click on this, here it will show up some parameters where you need to fill. So once you fill these parameters and save, your communicator settings step is also completed. That is the last step. Okay, so now let's look at some of the parameters are already pre-populated. Okay, but some parameters you need to maintain. So what it in that one, the mandatory one, what it says is page ID. So this particular page ID is nothing but in your OVP application, go to your OVP application. Why this is giving me this error. Asset failed, getting some down. Let me just check. This error ideally should not come, but let me check.
Can you please adjust data model once? See,
Sorry.
can you please adjust the data model once and adjust data model?
No, that is not required. The only thing I'm just assuming is probably the data model is not showing up over there. So that could be a reason that the data model looks like it is still not assigned. So that could be a reason. Let me, without saving, I'll just come out. Yeah, I think that is a reason, because even if I look at in the code, what it says is it is not able to create the instance for the data model. The data model instance, it is not able to create. That could be the reason. But the data model is in active state only, but still it is not assigning. That's fine. So what I will do is let me quickly create one more, because this data model is now in active state. Okay. So let me create quickly. I'll copy this from the template. We'll see ZP1. I'll give ZP1. So this is the new UI application. First, I'll try to maintain that OTC and we'll see. Okay. So we assigned this OTC. Now let me see here it reflects or not. Why this is not coming for this one? It is not taking the root object data model ZP same. Okay, so also let me check the structures are properly created. Country, plant, product. This is also fine. ZP defined business object type. Wait a minute, where is ZP here? Okay. JP business object type. Okay, this is fine. So surprisingly, usually I never come across this issue. Let me give a try one more. We'll see. Okay, I think now it got added the ZP. Yes. Okay, so now ZP got added. I don't know. I just activated it again. That's it. Okay. But ultimately, when you are creating your UI application, just ensure that this data model name gets reflected. Okay. So earlier what happened is this data model name is not reflecting here, which means this UI application is not linked to the data model, and system, when it is trying to create instance for that in the backend, it is dumping because this is not linked. I think that's the reason we are getting the dump. Let's see what happens now when I'm trying to create this communicator settings, right? Edit settings CRY. Okay. So here I need to add page ID. So this page ID is nothing but, I'll show you. Okay. For now, let me first fill this data and we'll see. Page ID is nothing but it's a main. Okay. So this is nothing but where I wanted to show you is, let's say, for example, for other data model, you take ZTA or any application. So when you go to your respective application, here on the left hand side, you see something called page ID. Okay, so this is what that means basically that change request UIBB, I wanted to link it to this application at this level, the main page ID. So that's why it is asking where should I link that one. So here we are specifying the page ID is main. Okay, after that the connector class, you don't need to remember here, it automatically gets populated. Okay, all other information get populated automatically. The only thing here is the source configuration name. Okay, source component and configuration. So these two details also we need to provide. This is nothing but your component name of your type 1. Okay, so that is here form fpm underscore form underscore uibb underscore zl2. There is a zl2, and this is your z material. I think Z material. I'll show you these three once I open that application. So this I am taking it from our component configuration only. Okay. So you need to just maintain this data. So let me fill this data. Okay. And then, okay. So here, let's select all, refresh ZP. So for this one, if I go to this application, display, component configuration. So model name is ZP only. And are we in edit mode by any chance? No. Yes, in this table. So it is basically, if you look at this, it is trying to fetch the active data model. So now there our data model is active. So it is taking this active data model from this table. So if this is active data model, then it should not create any issue. So it created that instance is not in issue. Okay. I don't know what's the issue, but this is not the expect. In general, I don't think you'll face this issue. Maybe some buffer issue kind of thing. Okay. So what I was saying is when you maintain that communicator setting, so at the communicator setting level, you will have something called page ID, which you need to take it up from here. And the other one is you need to mention the component name is this one, and this material. Let me show you again. So if you go to this communicator settings, display, so CR wise. So this main I picked up from here only. Yeah, from here. And the other one, your source component, source config name is nothing but your type 1 component and name. Okay. So this is my type 1. Okay. So FPM form UIBBGL2, FPM form UIBBGL2, and config name is Z material. Config name is Z material. So this is what I have provided. I just provided only this much of information. And with that, and once you save this data, your this one communicator setting, the step 6 is also done. So how do you know whether it is done? Because it will turn into green. Okay. So now if you go to your list of all the data models, so wherever this particular, for all the standard objects also, this communicator setting is already maintained. So in the same way, for the template one, it won't be maintained. For the template one, it will be read only. Don't try to do any changes for the template one. If you try to maintain something for the template, whoever copies this template, for them also those changes will get copied. So don't touch anything, this template. Just select this and copy this into your Z namespace. That's it. Okay. So now with that one, we completed our all the step 6. Okay. So if you go to ZP data model, so we completed all the step 6 that we discussed for your to complete your UI model. And this communicator setting, it should turn into green, where that means we maintain this communicator settings. Okay. So with this one, we just completed that all the step 6. Now the question is how to call this UI application to create your master data. Okay. So any questions on these, all the steps that we did so far?
Actually, it's only required for a type 1 UIBB or so still is required for other one list UIBB also?
What the communicator settings?
Yes.
That is only for your type 1 only.
Okay, fine.
Only for your main root entity or your type 1 entity. For others, you just need to maintain that wiring, and say for other UIBBs, the wiring schema, that's it.
Okay, type 1 to type 4 where we are maintaining
yes.
the, okay.
Okay, so these 6 steps are completed. Okay, now any other questions? Okay, so now the next thing is, we first, what we have done, we created one data model, nothing but some staging area. And we created one UI application as well, which actually created for this particular staging data. Okay. Now, this UI application is for what purpose? To maintain the data, right? To maintain the data. That means either you wanted to create or you wanted to change or you wanted to perform any data. Okay. So now when you create the data gets stored into this table. When you activate this after all the approvals, the same inactive data will turn into active because we are using the flex data model, right? And again, when you wanted to read this data, it will read the data and it will display on this particular UI application. Okay, so this is fine. Now, this works like you can directly open your UI application and try to create the data if it is a non-MDG scenario. Like you create one ABAP program and you create the data, and once you execute the program, the data will get stored in the backend. Now here we are talking about the governance. Governance means whenever you create any master data, it has to happen through the change request process, right? Without change request process, you cannot create the data. That means what I'm trying to say here, let me show you. I'll open NWBC. I'll try to show you the material master so that you will correlate what I'm trying to say. Okay. So I wanted to create a material. Now my UI is also there for material creation and the backend staging is there. Okay. Now what is missing in our scenario compared to this material master. Let me show you. What is a like? Okay, if you see here, if you hello, any question?
Yeah. I'm saying like it's workflow approval of steps. The missing part.
Workflow, yeah, you are right. That is one. But before that, there is one more thing is missing. Okay. So if you recollect your the data model concept for type 1, what is for type 1 what we mentioned over there. Okay. So let me show you. I'll open the data model. I'm not expecting you to answer because it's still okay. We haven't discussed that, but I'm just guessing like probably if you can observe this one. So for your type 1, right? So what is the type 1 category? Changeable via change request, right? So tables are there, UI application is there. But what about this data you can change via change request process. Okay. So that means the change request process is missing for our data model. I mean, data model means for our master data, the custom data that we created. Whereas for material master, UI is there, backend staging tables and everything is there. At the same time, the change request is also there. You remember? So this particular change request, this is a change request concept. So this is what the type 1 entity says. Data can be changed via change request only. That means whenever you are creating any master data, changing any master data, you need to assign something called change request type. Okay. Now, if I don't enter this change request type, and if I try to click on continue, I get an error message saying that you have to choose at least one change request type. For material creation also, I'm able to create the material because by default, this value is getting populated over here, the change request type. When I click on continue, I'm able to proceed and create the data. Based on the change request type only, system generates the change request number, runtime number for this particular instance. Okay, the change request number is 644, and I'm able to enter all other data. Okay, so the same thing. So this particular change request thing is missing for our object. So that means data model, UI model, or two things are ready. But from the governance point of view, you need something called change request process. So that means to create any master data in MDG, so the data model, nothing but your staging area plus your UI application plus the governance settings or governance configuration is required. The governance configuration is required. That means here, when I say governance configuration, this is nothing but your change request configuration also we have to do. That means CR type configuration, which automatically when you are doing CR configuration, it is mandatory to assign the workflow as well. That means this portion is missing for us. Okay. Now, this we discussed as part of the data model topic, and this we discussed as part of the UI model topic. Okay. Now this change request process or whatever this governance process, this is the crux of your governance MDG. Okay. So this you can do it in any other without any, I mean, MDG using any other technologies. But in MDG, what is main is how to govern your master data. When you are creating the master data, how to govern. Like govern means what rules you wanted to put or what is our type of workflow, all that stuff. You will create something called change request step. This assume that this is one kind of process. You need to define this kind of process and attach whatever maybe like workflows, rules, everything to this one. So when I'm creating the master data, I need to use this CR type. Then when I use this CR type, all the MDG governance related configurations or the processes that you set up as part of the CR type, that will get kickstarted when you are creating your master data. So that means this entire process is missing. Okay. So where I will learn this process we will be discussing as part of process model topic. Okay. So that means if you look at the configuration as well. Okay. So we talked about data model, we talked about UI model. The next is a process model. Under process model, I need to configure the CR types for my object. I need to configure the workflow for my object, and then only I can start using this UI application to create or change my master data. Is this clear what I'm trying to say? Why now I cannot create master data though I have the data model tables and UI application? Because in MDG, this is also mandatory configuration. This is missing. Okay. So I hope this is clear what I'm trying to say, right? Why we cannot proceed and see the demo now. Okay, so now what I will do is, because this process model is a big topic, it will take for us to, in this process model itself, we'll talk about the change request, we talk about the workflows. Okay, so now to complete all these topics, it will take for us. Till then, we cannot see the demo. Okay, so what I will do now, I will quickly complete, because now we created this data model and UI. So we are interested in to see how my UI look like when I enter the data, how it will get stored into my staging table after workflow, how that inactive will turn into active. All those things I wanted to see, right? So what I will do is, I will quickly complete the required configuration for this one. Now, just observe it. Even if you don't get anything also, which is absolutely fine, because after this UI modeling, our next topic is process model only. There we will be discussing in detail why, what steps I have done and everything. Okay. But just to see this demo for the UI application and data model that we created, now what I will do is I'll quickly complete these configurations, and then we will see the demo from the UI and data model perspective only, and the workflows and everything. Anyway, we will discuss in detail in the process model. That is one option, so that you can see the demo immediately. The other option could be, let's wait until this process model gets completed, which will take another time, and then we will see the end-to-end demo. Okay, so I prefer the first one. Let me complete this quickly. It will take hardly 5 minutes, and then we can at least see this demo so that you can visualize how your UI look like and all that stuff. And anyway, when we reach to this process modeling topic, we will discuss in detail that time. Okay, is that fine to everyone? Okay, so let me quickly complete this. Okay, so I just completed the required configuration. So basically what I have done is, I created one CR type. So in general, whenever you are creating any master data, right? So let me just, I'll brief it what I have done high level, but we will discuss in detail in the process modeling topic. So you want in MDG, you wanted to create or maintain, right? Basically create or change, probably block, okay, or else unblock. Okay, these are the different operations that you can perform on a master data, right? Or else, let's say, for example, delete, or you wanted to perform some mass operation, or you wanted to perform some load activity. So all these are the different operations that you can perform on any master data. Okay, so now for everything, for every change you wanted to do, it has to happen through the change request process. Okay, so change request process is nothing but, you will have, you need to configure something called change request. Okay, that is in the system change request. So you need to create something called define. Basically, you need to create something called change request in the system. Okay, so that is what I have done. The change request I created is ZP01. Okay, I created like this. Okay, you need to, it's a config activity, pure config activity. When you create this change request configuration, you will be mentioning different stuff to this one. Okay, like okay, what is the workflow? Okay, and you need to configure the workflow. Okay, and this is for mass operation or single object what. So you will be mentioning all some details when you're doing this configuration, which we'll discuss in detail later. Okay, so once you create the change request configuration, then at runtime, when you are trying to create any your object using this particular CR type, system will generate one CR number. Okay, so that CR number will be attached to your master data creation process. Okay, so that's what, even if you look at your material master UI application also, whenever I'm creating a material, it's mandatory. You are first the two things. Well, you need to assign a CR type. So this is missing for our case. So I just configured this CR type. So once you configure the CR type and click on continue button, system will take a look at in the backend the configuration from your CR type, and accordingly it will generate the change request number. Okay, so this CR number is attached to this CR number. This is a runtime object. 645 is a number, request number attached to your master data creation. Just like you order something in online, right?
Hey, you know, ZaranTech now offers SAP corporate training. That's right. Train your workforce in SAP with our comprehensive program. We offer customized courses, certified trainers, and hands-on labs for both individuals and businesses. Our standout features: bespoke training, fully configured servers for practice, in-house materials, and a dedicated LMS. Plus, get session recordings and 24/7 support. From functional to technical modules, we have got it all. Choose ZaranTech for SAP training and watch your team excel. Learn, upskill, succeed with ZaranTech.
So there will be one order ID or something like will get created, and you will track that order status using that number. So this is your runtime number. Again, using the same CR type, that material master that I use, I can create multiple materials. Every time whenever I do some new material creation, I can use this multiple times. For all the material creations, I can use this one. So again, when I click continue, it will generate one more number. So this is your config ID, and this is your runtime number 645, 646. So in the same way, I created one change request configuration in the backend. Without the change request configuration, system doesn't generate the change request number, and without change request number, you cannot create your master data. So that's why process model is also mandatory to see the end-to-end demo for us. Okay, so now we completed the process model configuration as well. Okay, so now the next thing is from where, how to call, like you created one ABAP program. So usually that ABAP program, how do you execute? You go to SE38 and enter the program name and you run it, or else you create a T code for that one. You enter that T code, so automatically that program get executed. Okay, but in the same way, to run any of your WebDin Pro applications, okay, so you need to pass some pair. Okay, let me show you. I go to NWBC. Okay, so if you go to your NWBC homepage, I'll go to business partner. Okay, so now you see this is one homepage. In the homepage, you have different hyperlinks. When I click on in the hyperlink, the FPM application that is linked to this particular hyperlink will get executed. Okay. Similarly, all these are FPM applications that you will call from this particular hyperlinks. In the same way, how the SAP created this business partner governance homepage for our custom object as well, we can create this kind of home pages. Okay, in your homepage, you can have like a create material, custom product, change custom product, search custom product, or else file upload, file download, all those hyperlinks you can actually provide. Okay, so how to create or how to govern, probably how to build this kind of home pages, that we have a separate topic there. I will explain that one. Okay, but now at this point of time, how SAP in this case, because in our case we don't have this kind of home page. So how SAP is calling this one, the same way you can also add your UI application. You can call from your favorites. You can add that in the favorite, your UI application, FPM application. From there you can call. Till then, I show you how to build those home pages and everything. Okay, so for now I will add that the UI application which we created under this one. Okay, favorites. I'll show you how to add that one. Okay, so you can in the favorite section. This is from the WebDin Pro only, because usually in the WebDin Pro, this is how we will actually add to your favorites. So here, right click and go to add other objects. Okay, so in this other objects, okay, you scroll down, there is something called WebDin Pro application. So just enter this WebDin Pro, select WebDin Pro application. This is a place where you need to provide your details. What details you need to provide? What is your application? What is your application configuration? And some description, so that this description will be shown as a hyperlink. Okay, so your application name, I'll show you what is your application name. So this is your application name all the time for all OVP applications. This is your application name, USMD_OVP-gen. So I need to provide the details here, USMD_OVP_gen. Okay. The same details in the when you are building the governance home pages, there also we will fill the same details. Okay, so this is your main application. Under this, what is the configuration that we created? When you do F4, here it will show all the list of applications. Right. USMD_OVP_gen. So Zen. Okay, I entered ZE. Zen. Okay. So now after this, when you do F4 here, it shows all the configurations that are exist by taking that as a parent or the main application, right? So someone created ZDA, ZD, we created ZP, ZP1. So it shows everything. Now in this, my application is ZP. I'll just choose this one. So you need to provide your main application and the configuration that you created. And this description is nothing but whatever it is showing in the hyperlink, right? Like create material and all that stuff. So the same kind of hyperlink description you can provide over here. Let's say custom model hyphen create. I just provided this description. This is how you call this application. Okay. So along with this one, there are two more parameters that we need to maintain. Okay. So those parameters are, the first parameter is when you're calling any application, like you call your function module. When you're calling the function module, you need to pass some signature, right? Some parameters. The same way, there are two mandatory parameters that you can pass. Okay. So one is action, one parameter. Okay. The other parameter is your OTC. OTC is nothing but there is that OTC. Okay. These are the two parameters that we need to pass. I think is enough. Yeah, that's it. Only these two parameters you need to pass with values. So we all know what is the OTC. Okay, so the OTC is ZP underscore BOT, right?
Yeah, BOT. BOT only.
Yeah, ZP underscore BOT. So ZP underscore BOT is my OTC. Now, action. Action is, as I mentioned earlier, this UI application, the same UI application, we will be using it for create, for change, for display. This can be used for three different purposes. It's not like in MDG, you will have one OVP application for create, one OVP application for change, one OVP application for display. It's not like that. It's the same application that gets used for different purposes, for different actions. So action is, you need to pass, you wanted to call this for with what action. Okay, so you can say, let's say for example, create. It's a keyword. Create is a keyword. Okay, so these actions we define in the process model. So there I will explain different type of actions. So those are nothing but these are the actions like create, change, block, unblock, and all these we call it as the actions that we will discuss in detail later. Okay, so now along with your application names, you need to pass these two parameters. Okay, so once you pass these two parameters, just click on OK. Okay, so now you see this link got created over here. Now I can actually double click this. It will open up my application, the application that we just created. Okay, now see the change request UIBB got added at runtime. And how come it got added? What configuration enabled you to see this change request to think UIBB here?
CR wire.
CR wire, yes, communicator settings. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you are right. Under communicator settings, we created that add that CRY. Okay, that's why it is coming. If you don't do the step, right, you don't see this CR UIBB. And if there is no CR UIBB, you will see these two UIBBs on your screen, but these two will be in a read-only mode. Because as if there is no change request, that means that you cannot create a data. That's why everything will be in read-only mode. If all your configurations are correctly done, then only you will see it with a proper, like in a read-only, sorry, in a editable mode. And change request number automatically generated. Okay, so 646. So because you will, in the entire MDG, you will have one number range object for your change request. Okay, so that number range object will, from that only all the CR numbers will get generated, whether you are creating a material or customer or your custom object. Like that means the number range object is USMD underscore CR is the number range object. Okay, now this same number range object will be used to create your materials or to create your business partners, to create your customers or vendors or finance objects or article master or EAM objects or your custom objects as well. Okay, it's a one number range. Okay, where do you can see this number range object? The T code is SNRO. Okay, I think it is not USMD underscore CRUQ. Okay, it's a CRUQ. Okay, so this is the number range object where you can see the number ranges. Okay, so now, so that is about your change request number, and we will discuss in detail about this change request configurations in the process model. Okay, so now I'll say demo prod. Okay, and other priorities and all that stuff we will discuss later. Now here, look at this material. For our data model level, I wanted to again show you some setting, the discussion that we have done when you are creating the data model, that key behavior. So I'll go to ZP data model, go to your SU type 1. Okay, so the setting we have done is key cannot be changed, no internal key assignment. Okay, so no internal key assignment. That's why There is no proposal, internal number. And also key cannot be changed, which means if I enter one key, demo1, assume that, and hit enter, okay? So what happens is this will automatically gets read only. Now I cannot delete or I cannot change this one. That way key cannot be changed. Once you enter the key, you cannot change it. Okay. So it takes only one time as an input. Okay. So that's how this behavior comes from this particular configuration, your key behavior. Okay. And all the remaining one are the other attributes like what industry sector you wanted to maintain. Okay. And okay. So let me again now. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so let me choose some value and material group. All these are coming from the F4 values. Material type. Let's choose any material type. Okay. Now, so your type 1 data you entered. After that, the next one is your plant data. Okay. For the plant data, you have an option to add new records over here. So when you click on new, okay, see automatically your material number got populated. How this happened?
While
doing extend and change workflows. So we have introduced this value.
I think it is because of qualifying relationship. Sorry, leading relationship.
Because of
Leading relationship.
Development, there is no BRF and CFD.
No, my question is, which setting or configuration enabled to derive this value automatically without writing the code?
Wiring.
Yes, that's true. Absolutely. So wiring, because of the wiring, in the wiring you maintain the connector classes. You remember? So those connector classes are the generic connector classes that will build the relation between your UIBBs. So that connector automatically understands that, okay, here the key is this one, and here also the key is this one. So as soon as you enter this data, the key you wanted to pass to this one. Okay, so now at your plant level, there are two keys are there. One key automatically added over here. The other one, it's a user input. So now when you enter some plant over here, it will go and validate. The qualification process runs through your type 3 to the backend config table. If that is a valid plant, it will accept. Otherwise, if I enter some dummy value, it will throw me an error message because the qualification process gets failed. So whatever you are doing in your configuration, you have done at your data model level, everything works now. Okay. So now we maintain the key. You see here, there is something called action button. So this is from the framework itself, because framework has that intelligence that, okay, this is a table and we should have one provision to delete the records as well. So that's why the delete option is there. And also new option is there. Okay. So now I can maintain some other non-key attributes over here. Okay. Let's say, for example, this one, and let me maintain some country. Okay. So now I maintained one. So as we know that it's a 1:n relationship and we can extend to n number of plants, we can do extend one more record here. So again, add one more plant, maintain different value, add one more country here. Okay. So likewise, you can keep on extending this material to multiple plants. So once you've done this one, okay, so you entered all the data. Okay. So now, okay, so here, the thing is that the workflow configurations, we have to do it. That is not done. That's the reason you don't see the submit button here. Okay, but I can save this data. Okay, so let me click on save. That's here to trigger the workflow and to take it to your. Let me just check quickly in the staging. The data gets inserted. For now, we are good. Actually, the workflow configurations I haven't done because I wanted to show you when we are talking about the workflow topic. If I do this again now, that time I cannot show it. So that's why I just kept it without doing that configuration. Let's see. Data is not getting inserted. Okay. So because I know that some configurations are missing. So this is the 250. Basically, this configuration I didn't do intentionally because we can discuss during the workflow when you get a fresh MDG system. What are the things that you have to do? So that's why I didn't do. But that now, because this is not done, we cannot see the data in the staging. Okay, so that's fine. We'll see this, how the data gets stored. But for now, so this is what the UI which we built. Okay, so the data save part, we'll see. I will check what are the missing configurations and we'll do that configuration. Okay, so but this is how your UI look like. So ideally, once I enter this data, and here you will get a submit button, And when you hit the submit button, the data should get stored into your staging table. That is not happening. Okay, because maybe some of the workflow configurations or something is missing. First, let me identify what is that configuration missing, and with that we will discuss. Okay, so this is how your UI look like. Okay, now if you notice this UI, this is your type 1 data form UIBB, and this is your list UIBB. Now see your list UIBB or type 4 data, the new, this one is blank, which means now you cannot add a plant over here. Why? Because the main type 1 data is not yet done. Okay, so and again, if you recollect your type 4, the SU type 4 definition, that is that it says changeable via other entity type. You remember that your type 4 definition. Okay, so you have that changeable via other entity type, right? So this is the impact of that one. So the other entity type is nothing but your parent entity type. The data is not available here. That's why you cannot extend to a plant. This new button is grayed out. Now let me add some material, and hit enter. Automatically, you see this got enabled. That means now the the parent is available. So now you can start extending it to the other plants. You can start maintaining the plant data. Okay, so this is how your the UI look like. But we'll come back to this UI again when we start discussing about the process modeling. So we'll be discussing about the process modeling topic. So there we will come back and we'll discuss. So but for your visualization purpose, this is how your UI look like. The change request UIBB will get added as at a runtime, and we added one form UIBB and one list UIBB. Okay, now this is similar to whatever the standard SAP material master, right? Okay, so if you go to your material master, create material, and so you click on continue. Okay, so now this is the same similar UI application only. Here as well in material master also you have that change request UIBB, and after that you have all your form and list UIBBs, depends on your entities. Okay, so likewise you have all these. Here you have the multiple entities. Okay, now let's quickly explore this standard UI applications as well. Now you wanted to open this UI application, or you wanted to know what is the name of this UI application. Okay, so there are multiple ways that you can actually open, because it's a WebDyn Pro application. Ultimately, though it's a FPM, in the backend it's a WebDyn Pro application. You can go to SEIT. From SEIT you can open that WebDyn Pro component, and there you can see. But that is the longest path. The easiest way always to open any UI application to see the details or the technical details of any this FPM application, always what you can do is you can right click anywhere on your UI application. Okay, so and go to technical help. Okay, so this is the name of your UI application. This is also copied from your USMD OVP gen template only. Okay, but SAP created as a separate OVP application, and this is your component configuration. Okay, so let's open this UI application. Click on this one. You will have the same way, like you have the CBA component and OVP component. Okay, and from OVP component, this one component configuration, when you click on this component configuration, okay, so you have the section where material section. Okay, under this one you have all that nodes, like this central node is they added as a technical node. You can ignore this, but from your change management. Okay, so let me show that runtime as well view. Okay, so here you have your change management section. After that you have your basic data. Okay, so you see your basic data here. Then descriptions, dimensions. So every UIBB is here only. Okay, and also if you go to wirings, you will find wiring entry for every UIBB. Now I wanted to see this UIBB, the attributes, the details of this UIBB. Okay, so select this UIBB, click on configure UIBB. So it will open that individual UIBB here. Okay, so now here, whatever that you see over here in the preview section, all these are like, in the open the basic data UIBB, see material under this page got divided into some sections, general data section, grouping section. You can see here the same general data section, grouping section, and everything. Now, when you click on this button, you will see the attributes. So select your material. Okay, so this is the attribute from your entity, SU type 1 entity. And on the left hand side, you will see all the attributes from your SU type 1, the material entity. 157 attributes. Okay, and you can play around with these properties. Okay, so this is how the standard OVP application also look like. Okay, now you wanted to see the feeder class assigned to this UIBB. So you have an option where you can look at the feeder class. So this is the feeder classes. So SAP created their own material master, so different feeder class. But ultimately, this feeder class is some child of the feeder class which we used. Whatever the feeder class that we use, that is a top level. Okay, but in the extensions topic that I'm going to discuss now, so there I will explain, let's say for example, what are the cases that you need to write some logic and handle some of the requirements through enhancements. So during that time, we can actually, instead of using the standard the feeder class which I mentioned, this is a CL MDG GUIBB form, we can create a child of this class. Like you in Whoops we have, right, the parent and the child. So you can create a child of this particular class, and the child class that you created, mention this as a parent class, and you can redefine basically some of the methods. Okay, so that using that object oriented concept, you can actually handle. Okay, it's not necessary that all the time you need to assign the same class. The concept here is either use this class or the inherited class from this one. So either of those classes you have to use it for your UIBB. Similarly for list UIBB. Okay, because in this case, why SAP did not use the standard feeder class and they used material specific feeder class, because they need to write some logic for some cases. So those logic, if they write inside the standard feeder class, that will be applicable for everyone because it's a generic class. That's why they created a child class of that, and inside the child class is nothing but your material feeder form. They written some logic. Okay, that is fine. That we will discuss again. Okay, so now, but whatever we learned till now is in the custom a brand new UI application. It is similar, exactly similar how SAP build the standard material master UI application or BP and other applications. There's nothing different. Okay, any questions? Okay, so if no questions, let me open that PPT. Yeah, so here this is your UI modeling one. And after that, okay, so this SPI integration, this is applicable for material master. Okay, as a kind of FII, I'll tell you what is this SPI integration, but we don't actually use this one anywhere. Okay, so this is SAP used MM. For MM, they used in the backend this SPI integration. So I'll tell you what is that SPI integration. Okay, so what we learned is, you will have your front-end FPM UI applications. These FPM UI applications are built from Webdin Pro. Okay. Now, these FPM UI applications are linked to something called Genil model. I showed you. Okay. Now, this Genil is integrated with your MDG framework. MDG framework. When I say MDG framework, it includes your the data model, okay, all your staging, okay, so everything. So this is the MDG framework. Okay, MDG framework not directly linked to your FPM. In between, you have a Genil layer. Okay, and that's why when you activate your data model, automatically this Genil layer also gets generated, and this linkage automatically happens from your data model. Okay, so when you are creating this FPM application and when you are adding UIBBs, we are linking that Genil model over here. You remember ZSP underscore our data model that we mentioned, right? So that is how I'm linking to my UI application this Genil model. Okay, so this is a common framework that is used for all the objects in MDG, which means business partner, your finance objects, article master, EAM objects, and your custom objects. For your custom objects as well. For all these things, it uses the same framework, Genil framework. Okay, from the UI point of view, though these details are not required for us, but on the when you are adding your form UIBB, we linked this one ZSP underscore your that single processing underscore your data model. Okay, so that's how I have to explain what is this and why I'm linking that, so that you about the Genil model. That's where actually we discussed. Okay, now this is true for all the cases except material master. In material master case also, This will get generated, your Genil and everything. But MDG doesn't, the MM data model, though it got generated, it doesn't care about this Genil framework. Okay, that means for material master and your MDG framework, instead of Genil thing, SAP used something called SPI framework only for this one, SPI framework. Okay, so what is this SPI framework? Do I need to learn about this and all that stuff? No, nothing. Always for the MDG technical folks, these are technical or functional, whoever, this is important to us. So in the same way here also, the FPM and the backend MDG is important. In between, whether it has SPI or it has Genil, that we don't care. It's an internal alignment or internal design that SAP used for this one. Okay. Now, why I'm explaining this one is because if you open your material master, okay, so it will show, like if you go to the feeder class parameters, in our case here, in our data model, it shows here ZSP underscore our data model, that Genil thing. But instead of that one, here it shows MDG underscore mat. So whenever you open your material master UI, FP, UIBB, and when you go and see here, you might get the doubt that, okay, I mentioned that here you will have the ZSP underscore your data model, but why here for material master this is there? The reason is it is using the in the backend SPI framework. Okay, that means for MM data model, SAP generated similar to your Genil model, SAP already generated this object in the SPI framework, MDG underscore mat. It contains all your the buffering and all the metadata information. Okay, so that's why you have this. Ultimately, you will have your entity you need to link, which is fine. But this is the SPI. It is coming from your SPI framework. So that's what this particular slide talks about. In for material master only, you will have in the top end from the front end, you will have your FPM application, but in the back end, you have your this SPI integration. Okay, and in the back end, you will have your MDG framework. In between, in place of Genil, these two boxes represents SPI framework boxes. Okay, so that there should be a T code to see this one. Of course, this is just for your information purpose only. SPI framework, is it SPI? No, not SPI. Is a T code to see this particular node? I'll show you that I am not able to recollect. Somehow I forgot that T code to see the SPI framework. Let me Google if I get it. Not SPI tool. It should be something else. No, MDG underscore MDAT. That is, yeah, MDB. MDB is the T code. Okay, so let me. So the T code is MDB. When you open this, it opens that your SPI. Okay, here abbreviation ID is nothing but this one, MDG underscore MDAT. MDG underscore MDAT. Okay, so when you execute this, what happened? Store MDG store. Yeah, MDG underscore MDAT only.
It is M8. Okay. M8.
Sorry. Yeah. My bad. Okay, so this is inline created as inline with your data model. Okay, we don't touch anything over here. We never ever touch anything over here. Just is for your understanding purpose only. Okay, so you'll have all your the standard tables and the child tables under it. So when I open this, the actions. So yeah, I mean, this is just for your understanding purpose. We don't do anything over here. Okay, so I don't know why SAP selected it's a separate for this one, because one reason is, I'm not sure if you heard about the PLM framework. So for most of the material master, it in the backend it uses PLM framework, and the PLM framework for normal your MM module. Okay, so the PLM framework uses this SPI integration, and in MDG also SAP followed the same approach, so that some of the functions they can reuse. Something they have done the design differently for material master. Okay, but for us, always what is important here is the front end. Okay, what is your front end? Front end is common across all the objects. There is no doubt. You are adding your UIBBs, playing around with your FPM application, and the backend configuration, MDG specific configuration is also same. Okay, only the linkage part, whether it uses the Genil or SPI, so that is different compared to material master versus all other objects. Okay, so because whenever you see something called SPI integration thing, that so to have some high level idea. So that's why I'm just explaining this one. Okay. So it shows that the application ID from Material Master UI application. Okay. So this is your general framework. So here UI layer will be there in the backend. In MDG layer is there. So this is your UI and this is your MDG. In between, you will have your general layer. Okay. And to see this one, the T code is general underscore model underscore browser that I showed you. Okay. So that is one thing. Now with this one, okay, from the UI point of view, how to create a UI application that we saw. Okay. And we haven't written any single line of code. Okay. So that is for a brand new UI application. Okay. So the intention or idea is that it's not like in your projects, every time in day out, you create a brand new UI applications. But from there, the most of the time you will, when you are working on MMBP, you never create a brand new UI. At max, you extend the standard UIs only. Okay. But why we discussed about the brand new UI? So that you will come across that your OVP application, the template, how to copy, and feeder class concepts and wiring concept, communicator settings. So everything we touch when you are creating a new UI application. Okay. But our actual focus will be how to extend your MMR, BPR, finance, or any other standard UI applications. Okay. So that's where actually the next topic comes is your user interface enhancements. Okay. So there are, whatever you see here, there are multiple ways that you can enhance your UI application. Okay. Some of them are from this list that you see here. Some of them are SAP recommended and SAP officially documented. These are the approaches, and some of them are based on my or probably the project experience where we explored and find out, okay, these are the ways also that we can do some enhancements. So ultimately, this is one place where you can see all different type of enhancements with respect to your UI enhancements, the standard UI enhancements. Okay, so one thing is, let's look at if you look at the standard Material Master UI application. I'll go back. Okay, now I wanted to add a new UIBB here in the standard, but this button is grayed out. Okay, so some cases you can click on this edit button. Let's see, actually it enabled, but usually in your project systems it won't enable UIBB. This one it will be still grayed out. Or even in your project system, this is enabled. What happens is if you edit and if you try to add a new UIBB here, after your system upgrade, this can get wiped off, your changes. Okay. So this is not a recommended approach to enhance your standard UI application and add UIBBs. This is not the recommended approach. Okay. So don't directly click on edit and do that one. SAP recommended certain steps. Like there are different ways are there. One is customizing, another one is enhancement. The other one is the CBA, context-based adaptation. So when we copied, there are two components are there. Component configuration is the one where we designed your UI application. Along with that one, I also mentioned there is another component is there, CBA, that we will discuss it later. So that is, we will discuss that here. Okay. So there are different ways that you can enhance your UI application. Okay, so let's discuss one by one. So I'll start with the simplest ones first. Let's look at something called personalization. Okay, so this particular personalization is like user dependent. That means it's not like a developer will do this one. This is, let's say, for example, as an end user, when I open UI application, I will do my personalization settings, and someone else will do their own personalization settings. So whatever the settings that I do, it will be only applicable for my user. Same way, whatever that other person did, so it will be applicable for that person. Okay, so that personalization also there. It's not an exact enhancement thing, but I just kept it over here because sometimes we come across some real-time issues or incidents from the different business users because of their lack of knowledge. Okay, so I'll show you that what is this and what could be the kind of issues that you come across. Okay, so now here, this is your UI application. Okay, now the requirement in the sense, as a business user, I know all the time I'm creating materials of FERT, finished product material types only. Okay, so always I'm creating this one. So why I need to each time enter this FERT? Is there any way that I can pre-fill this data from my own on my own? Okay, So that's where you can always right click here on your field, right click. There is an option user settings, and here you can say use current value as default. That means whatever the value is there inside this, that will become as a default value. Now I will close this my window. Let's go to, okay. So there is that material. So if I try to create a material, you can continue. Okay. So now see here, this value auto populated here, FERT. Okay. So that means because in my personalization settings, this value I set it as default. So this we call it as a personalization. Okay. Sometimes knowingly, unknowingly, users may fill this data, set this as a default value or any property, and they say that why it is coming up for me always, why for other users it is not coming up me. That kind of issues may come. Okay. So in that case, you can remove this personalization. Right click, same user settings, discard default value. When you say discard, next time when I open, it won't come up. Okay. So that for that matter, you can do for any attribute over here. Okay. So now this is fine. It is for the end user point of view. We don't need to do anything, but we should have a knowledge on this one about the personalization. Why? Because now we'll discuss one actual issue. Okay. So you can see here, there's a tabs. Let's say, for example, I'll right click on this tab.
What sets ZaranTech apart in SAP corporate training? It's our unique blend of expertise and innovation. We offer customized courses tailored to each client's needs, ensuring relevant, targeted learning. Our vast trainer database brings you wisdom from the best in the field. Need resources? Access our extensive training material repository anytime. We are all about measurable results, providing detailed student metrics to track progress. And we don't just teach, we build community. Join our thriving social media network, connecting learners beyond boundaries. With ZaranTech, you are not just training, you are transforming your SAP expertise.
Go to user settings, I'll say hide. Now the tab is not coming for me. Okay. Now I'll close this window. I'll open this. Still I can't see the tab because in my personalization setting, I hide that tab. Okay. So what happens is, like in one of my previous project long back, so that user, a business user, unknowingly he set that tab as a hide. Okay, he forgot that. Now later he wants to attach some documents when he is creating a CR. So that tab is not displaying over here. He raised a ticket. I'm not able to see this one. So the ticket went to some support team. And what that support team not aware of this personalization setting. So what they done, they debug that program where it is hiding. Is there any enhancement done and all that stuff? They couldn't find. Then they reached to the security team. Is there any authorization issue? So when you trace it in the authorization also, you don't it won't capture anywhere because the tab is there, but for you, you are not able to see. So it's not an authorization issue. Then basis. So it went to almost all the teams. And finally, when we looked at, okay, so always the first thing is, because now you know the personalization, either you can, there is an option to reset default. Where is that setting? Help center display, quick help settings only. Yeah, there is an option called reset to default. Okay, either you can, when you do this one, what happens is, whatever the personalization that you have done, everything will go away. If you know the specific place, and if you compare that the other user UI and your UI, so then you can always right click here, user settings, invisible elements. Okay, this is invisible element, restore it. It will come. Okay, so likewise, maybe when users, when they try to play around with the settings and they forgot later, they'll come and say, right? So in that case, this kind of issues may come because of a lack of knowledge for the business users. So we should aware of this. Okay, first thing is, before starting into your debugging and all that stuff, try to analyze. Probably this could be because of the personalization, because when two users are having same authorizations, why it won't come for that particular user and for other user it is coming up, it could be mostly because of the personalization. If personalization after resetting that one also, if it is not coming, then there might be something else the issue. Okay, so that is what, and it is user specific. Okay, so that is what the personalization thing. Okay, so any questions on this? Okay, if no questions on this, yep.
Yeah, can you go to that material screen once? Yeah, here after product hierarchy, there is a button for group product hierarchy. This can be handled in UABB. We should do personalization for this also.
What to handle? What you wanted to handle?
Like there is a button of that square box. Yeah, that one.
So these buttons, you can add it like in FPM, you have an option to add your buttons as well. Okay, so let me show you that. You go to technical help. I can directly go to this form UIBB, this component configuration. Okay, so here, this is the button you are talking. Okay, see here, you can add an element and the element type should be button. Like this is a input field, it is an input field, and this is a button. Okay, so likewise you can add those buttons, but that will be through your the other options, like you have something called enhancement and customizing, right? Through personalization is user specific, so that button should display for every user, right? It's a dev activity, development activity, so it cannot be done through personalization. It can be done through enhancements and also something called feeder class enhancements.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that we will discuss. Okay, so with that I will stop for, and the plan is that we will discuss about the remaining enhancement techniques. In what scenario I'll go for customizing, what scenario go for enhancement, what is this customizing enhancement, and what is the preferred methodology to enhance your standard UI applications. Those we will discuss. So it will take some time, probably 40 minutes, a kind of thing, to discuss all these things. And after that, where we will be discussing about CA type configurations and workflows, all that stuff. That is a main big topic, process modeling. And after that, the remaining topics are kind of small compared to process modeling. That is the main core of your entire MDG syllabus, this process modeling configuration. Okay, so any questions on topic or previous topic? I see few people already created the data models, and some people also created the UI applications. If you have any challenges or any errors, if you're getting, we can discuss, or else except the process modeling configuration, you can go ahead and complete your adding the UIBBs, wiring, feeder class, all that configuration. Anyway, I'll be completing that process modeling configuration. Then, so after that, you can complete the remaining configuration to see the output.
In the visualized data model, we are able to see that the main entity key only. If we do the qualifier referencing also, we are not able to see the key fields in the reference.
Yeah, sure. Let me open your data model and we'll see here itself. What is your data model name?
No, I'm not talking about my data model. Is for a standard data model. We are able to see here in material. We only see the Matner as a key field.
Yes. So in material data entity, material is the only one key, right? At this level.
Yeah. If we do qualifying reference.
So qualifying you will find here under the type 4. So till here, this is your material entity only.
Yeah.
From here, your other entity starts. Okay. So now let's say, for example, here, Marcy Basic. There is one entity, Marcy, that plant one, Marcy Basic. Yeah, this one. This is your type 4 for plant. You have your qualifying and reference, both leading and qualifying, right? Type 1 for type. This is from type 1. This is from type 3.
Yeah. If we do qualifying reference also, it will act as a key, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it is not giving the tick mark here. Is it related to the key?
Tick mark doesn't indicate. See, tick mark doesn't indicate it's a key. Look at what is the name of this.
Storage and use type. So
storage and use type means this itself is a entity.
Yeah. Okay. And one more thing. So we need to.
So you will understand. Wherever leading and qualifying is there, these are the two key fields. This represents whether this is an entity itself or not. That's it.
Or else we need to go to the staging tables to find what is the type.
Yeah, from staging table also you can look at what are the key fields, but from here also you can understand leading and qualifying always forms the key fields. So wherever you see leading and qualifying, that is the key fields only. Those two are. Don't look this one. The purpose of this one is whether this is an entity itself or not. That's it. Okay.
But actually, here the storage and use type is type 1 only it was showing like in the description. If you expand the field type column, yeah, see, it is always storage and use type 1 only it was showing.
Yeah. So storage and they are specifically here added a column to tell you whether is it a parent entity or not.
So that means at least for the parent entity, if you scroll up for the material one, it is not showing the checkbox. Okay, this checkbox is only under this one, storage and use type.
Yeah. Okay. This is also key, but this is not an entity itself. This is your type 3. This is coming from your type 3. Okay. So that's what how you need to interpret. Clear? Any doubts still?
For SU type 1 to 1, it must be 1:1 cardinality, or it should be 1:n also.
From where to where?
SU type 1 to SU type 1. If we create two SU types, if it must be 1:1 cardinality, or it should be 1:n also, or the rest it should be like that.
Okay. So, let me explain this. You have one data model. Under data model, you have one SU type 1. Under this one, you will have all your other SU types where you will define all the relationships, which is fine. Now, under the same thing, you can have another SU type 1 as well. So between these SU type 1 and SU type 1, system doesn't expect any relationship. I can create one data model and I'll add one SU type 1. I will add another SU type 1. I can activate this data model, because what do you mean by SU type 1? It is a parent and an independent object. This is another parent and it can be an independent object. Whether I'm adding my two parents, two independent objects under one data model or into two different data models, so I don't care that one. Okay, but there is no relation between these two things. And to answer your question, frankly, I never tried to make any relation between these two things, because for me, both are two different objects. I should be able to create this object using the UI separately, and this also I should be able to create separately. Okay, if you make a dependency between these two parents, your UI application is for one parent. So how do you create if you make a relation in one single UI, two parents, right?
Yeah, but you said in the first class we can divide the fields into 4 or 5 different places.
That is a different one. So what I mentioned is, under data model, under SU type 1, assume that ideally I supposed to create 150 entries. But now what I mentioned during that time is, okay, so instead of adding all 150 entries under one SU type 1, I can create in the same data model, I'll create SU type 1. Under this one, I'll add all the main basic attributes 50, and I'll create another SU type 4. And here I'll add the remaining 100 attributes. And between SU type 1 and SU type 4, I will make 1:1 relation. It's not like another SU type 1. You will make another SU type 4 and you distribute those attributes here. That means in this case, this is still represents one single object only. This doesn't represent single object. This represents two independent objects.
Okay, so now if you come to your RMM data model, so there are 4 SU type 1 entities.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, exactly. So that time itself, I mentioned that don't look at the other SU type 3s once, basically. This is your SAP created for your material master. Okay. So this is for something else. What is this? I will explain it later. If I start explaining, you will get confused unnecessarily. Okay. So for now, don't look at these ones. We will learn when we are discussing, because we have a topic to extend data model and all that stuff, right? So during that time, I'll explain what is this, the significance of this is also other SU type. Okay, I'll explain what is this one. But assume that for now you focus under data model, you have one SU type 1. Under SU type 1, you have all the attributes and all remaining SU type 4s. That's it. Okay. So these we will talk about later. These ones, because SAP actually, if at all to give it very high level, SAP introduced, there is a change management functionality in Material Master. To handle that one, SAP added this as a separate one. This is for your change management. And again, this is to handle your DMS, document management services, another functionality. For that one, they just added these entities. How this will be used, how it is linked to your MM or material, that we will discuss it later.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
And
So what I want you to understand the difference here. Having two SU type ones under same data model. Okay. So, and here what I mentioned is you can split that attributes into other child entities, but just make a 1:1 relationship. This is as good as having everything under one umbrella. Okay. Yeah. Any questions?
So the best practice is to split those entries into two things, SU type 1 and SU type 4, and make a relationship of 1:1.
Best practice in the sense, let me again tell you here. So data model is there under SU type 1 is there. Okay. Now here, why standard SAP in Material Master, they divided 150 attributes into 50 here and remaining into other, because as I said, these 50 are common and the remaining out of 100, assume that 30 are related to sales and some 30 are related to purchase and some, let's say 40 related to something else. So they logically grouped these attributes. That means here they added that one SU type 4, okay, and added 30 attributes which are sales related one. So these 50 plus these 30 part of your Mara table only, but these are exclusively for some sales related attributes. Similarly, added another SU type 4 and they added some 30 here, purchasing related here, and one more SU type 4 and added 40 here. Okay, but the relation between all this type 1 and this type 4 is 1:1. Okay, because there is a reason. So you are from ABAP background, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I ask you to write a program. So the program has thousands of line code. So you write all the thousands of line code in the same, or else you logically group this logic, you create one function module or class and write this one. And this logic, you create another function module or class. Now in your main program, you have some basic logic, then call your FM1 to perform that activity and FM2 to perform that activity, right? So which one you prefer, this one or second case?
Second case.
Why? Because this is a modularization. With this piece, you can use it somewhere else, or whoever looks, it's a kind of from the modularization point of view. Okay. The same technique here they used. Instead of adding everything under one entity, they divided the remaining one logically into different entities. But you say, okay, let's say for example, no, there is no use, and you can also add all 150 under one entity also. This one and this one, there is no difference. The only difference comes is, let's say for example, if you do this kind of modularization, in future a business says that these attributes are not part of my business, this set. What you can do is, in the process model there is a configuration where this entire entity, SU type 4 entity, you can actually take it out of governance scope. When you say out of governance scope, this entity, all the attributes under that particular entity, you cannot maintain in MDG. On the UI also, that attributes will become read only. Okay, so that is one option. If SAP doesn't do this one, and if they added 150 in one configuration, instead of hiding at the entity level, taking it out of governance group at the entity level, in the same configuration you have field wise out of governance as well. So I have to go to the fields. For all the 30 fields, I need to specify go out of governance. So which one is better? So this is a one line activity. This will be 30 properties I need to maintain. So here also you have a kind of modularization. So that kind of anything. So logically you can handle this in a group. That's why SAP logically grouped this. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think that is what. So if you go to your material master MM model, okay, scroll down. Whatever you see with Mara name here, Mara store, Mara SPM, Mara sales, Mara QTMG, Mara purchase. All these are from your Mara table only. That is, ideally these from here to here, these should be part of your material entity, type 1 entity only. But what SAP has done is, because now you look at the descriptions as well. One is sales related, one is quality related, one is purchasing. So they thought that, okay, let's separate it out. So that's why you see here the key is only one single key, 1:1 relation. Whatever the key is at material level, here also the same key. There is no qualification, there is no other key. Okay, clear?
Okay. So,
But yeah, it's a good observation and good discussion. Okay. But you will get clarified things as and when we progress, you will have better understanding.
yeah, if you go to the relationships folder,
For which object?
anything, if you take our any of our customer GD or GA or GP also is fine. Yeah. Here there are multiple entities. How can we find the particular from to entity by doing the position?
Okay.
Is there any shortcut?
Actually, yeah. So when you enter this data model, okay, you are creating for this data model. So when you do an F4, ideally, you click on new. Not it is somehow, but when you do an F4, ideally it should show all the entities from this data model. That's
if you go back, like complete in the display mode, my question is like, and once again back.
Sorry.
One step back.
Okay.
Okay. So now if you select relationships, like after our data model.
Do you want me to? Okay, you cannot. You have to select one data model.
Yeah. Select the data model.
Okay.
Maybe we are in editing or okay. Display is fine. Okay. So if we do the position, there is a position right in the below. Here we are giving the from entity, but there is no to entity, right? How we will be recognizing those many relationships?
Okay. Yeah. Wait a minute. Let me show you. There is a process. There should be like contents. Let's say you want a to entity. Somewhere it should be there. I remember
in the previous one, it there two entities.
Here also you will have something called choose data to entity or by contents only. Is from entity is there, where is okay, two entities there here. So you can enter your two entity. So let's say my two entity is okay, here you have all plants only. So you can enter your entity type name and click on OK. So it will show you matching rows with that as a two entity.
Okay, then that is fine. Okay, from selection, right? How did you go? Selection?
From here, from selection by contents.
By contents. Okay, yeah, contents.
Okay, good.